Mortal Sin. Man, has this game come a long way. Starting development back in 2022 by a man named Nikola Todorovic, sorry if I butchered the name, and released in early access, it was a game with a vision to create the best possible version of a melee Doom, something that I feel like has never been done before. I can't really think of any game or games off the top of my head that have done that. 3 years later, and after months and months of updates, the game has finally been released, and what a freaking experience this game is. This may very well be one of the best FPS roguelikes I've ever played, and with it now being more refined and having the most amount of content it can get at this time, I'm here to talk about what makes this game special, brutal, fun, and cinematic. Let's get into the more, shall we, sinners? Mortal Sin is a chaotic, blood-soaked roguelike where skill is power and overconfidence is death. I didn't write this part, by the way. This is taken straight from the game's overview on Steam, and I couldn't have summarized it better myself. You play as the Sinner, a person who's stuck in this dark, rotten world and must find a way to escape the ever-shifting nightmare. While there is definitely a bit more to the story than what I'm saying, I didn't bother myself to care too much about what was going on, since the meat of this game for me was the gameplay. But it's everything you'd expect from a roguelike, from using weapons, gathering items or skills, and equipment to give you stat boosts and turn you into an absolute demon. Mortal Sin has 3 difficulties to pick from the moment you start the game, which are Path of Grace, Path of Absolution, and Path of Torment. It's very vague in terms of what the differences are between each difficulty, and as my first course of feedback, I think elaborating on what actually changes would be a good way for players to gauge and figure out which one they want to play instead of just going with the standard easy, normal, and hard difficulty settings like most games. What I gathered in terms of difficulty since I played on both Absolution and Torment are enemy HP, movement and attack speed, and damage. I can confirm this because they hit you like a freaking truck if you mess up or lack any defenses. I'd only recommend Grace if you haven't really played melee brawlers or games like this to ease you into the gameplay. Then once you've gained enough confidence and it becomes too easy, turn it up. In terms of scaling, I've experienced no skill issues or anything that's unbalanced, since a lot of the game comes down to what you get. I'll go over classes later, but for now, let's talk about how the runs work. Once you pick your class, you'll spawn in a safe area, which is the game's hub, which you'll be coming back to often. The game will give you some basic tutorials, such as adjusting your settings and learning the game's combat mechanics, which consist of attacking, parrying, bashing, and performing combos. There's an enemy you can test all of your attacks on and get yourself comfortable if you're learning a new class before jumping in. You'll only start with one area, which is the dungeon, a simple yet easy area to fight through thanks to the enemies that are there, and each area comprises small, compact arenas where you walk over these buttons and enemies will spawn, in which you kill them in order to progress. Along the path, you'll run into loot rooms, which spawn armor and weapons, shrines that give you skills, which serves as the game's items, if you will, outside of gear, and purple portals that have you do a bit of platforming whilst also avoiding traps. Oh, and these traps also exist in the areas that you travel to, which you gotta be cautious and mindful of. While I have seen some comments about the traps being a nuisance and ruining the flow of the gameplay, it's not as bad as people are putting it, as they're not too difficult to avoid once you put enough time, and keeps the game from being monotonous and a simple walk from point A to point B. There's also curses that you can pick up, which give you bonuses, but can also inflict a negative on you, such as enemies exploding on death, damaging pools, more enemy health pools, and movement speed. A lot of times I tend to just pick them up anyway because it's not usually the end of the world, but there are some that you may not want to pick up if it doesn't boost what you're looking for. You can also find these purge shrines which remove the curse but let you keep the bonuses. Once you've fought your way to the end of the area and through the 5 levels, you return back to the hub and continue to go through the other areas, which are the cave and the forest, before eventually going to the Mortal Sin, the game's final area. It's not too complicated at first, but the game begins to open up more as more things unlock. Unlike the last few games I've covered on my channel which all had persistent vertical progression, Mortal Sin is different this time around, being more akin to roguelikes than roguelites. Pressing T will pull up this progress screen, and as you can see, the areas are split into A, B, and C. This marks the order and time of place when you complete the area, as you can't go back to the same area over and over within the same run, and once you've gone through the dungeon, cave, and forest once, you'll be able to go through each of these areas at different times, giving players variety and serving as a massive replayability factor. On top of this, the areas get harder the further you go and introduce new enemies. So for example, Dungeon A has very basic and easy to read enemies, while Dungeon C has those same enemies but adds new ones, modifiers, and new attacks. It basically becomes a different area, and no matter which area you go to, it should always be treated at the difficulty of whenever you decide to do that area, if that makes sense. As you clear each of these in different rotations, you unlock rewards and options that carry over to future runs, such as the crafting anvil, potion shrines, a sinful shrine that lets you get stronger, and a skill shrine to buy additional skills and also make you stronger. These are just the hub options anyway, as there's also new classes, weapon types, and just general bonuses worth getting to make the game a lot easier, such as increased wizard oil and health potion capacity, gaining more gold, and selling items for more. I really love the way Nicola implemented this because it's done in a way where everyone can get the rewards, so you don't need to do any challenges or anything that's ridiculous, and it's not limited to difficulty. So if you're struggling to complete a certain area, you can always turn it down, but just know that you'll have to start again since you can't change it in the middle of a run. Also worth noting that if you die, you'll have to start from the beginning and work your way towards that reward again. So if you were at Cave C3 and died, you'll need to work your way back there again. Just wanted to give some extra clarification, as this can appear confusing at first glance and the game doesn't exactly tell you or emphasize it. I almost forgot to mention the woman that appears in the hub too, whose name is Helena. She's where you can learn more about Mortal Sin's universe and the world, but you have to put in some work to unlock these conversations. As you play more and the game opens up, you'll get quests, special challenges where you need to complete a level under a certain condition, and there's a great amount in terms of what you can do, with one quest appearing in each area for every run you start. These can range from protecting a witch while she roams around and keeping to the circle, completing a level within a time limit, staying in a circle whilst killing enemies, avoiding sin circles, killing aberrations or elites, and many more. Completing a quest will net you a reward as well as XP towards Helena's level, such as upgrades to your gear, obtaining high-end rare weapons, curse removals, and maximizing a skill of your choice, which are all randomly rolled every time you come back from an area, so choose wisely. On top of accessing more lore, you'll also gain special oaths, modifiers that alter gameplay and make it more interesting and don't need to be picked up straight away. And I want to emphasize this because some of these can really mess you up at the start if you don't read and pay attention. My favorite ones to run were Providence Path, which makes each area one long trek, making the runs longer while also giving you better loot and equipment, and Gift of Might, which makes equipment not spawn with skills but provide higher equipment stats. And these combined made the game so much more fun and just being able to get something rolling incredibly early on. Divine Grace turns your parry into a dodge, which can mess with your pacing if you're a parry player, since you now have to time your dodges so that you can get the massive damage bonus it gives you, which deals a whopping 400% damage. Sacred Reflex is another oath that gives you stricter parry timings but unleash a shock blast upon impact. These two in particular do make the game harder, but also more rewarding, and I'd advise not getting these ones in particular until you're confident with the game's mechanics. Mortal Sin has over a dozen playable classes, each having different stats, weapon types, starting skills, and abilities. Every class is unique, and all of them are viable. Instead, each class varies in terms of difficulty and, I guess, personal preference. The majority are focused on melee combat, but some offer ranged options too. For all of you Berserk fans out there, look no further than the Berserker, a class who carries big swords, performs massive AoE moves, and uses his ability Charge to gain a dash and iframes when performing the following attack. Or maybe you're feeling goofy and want to try a bit of ranged combat with the Pirate, a class that plays around with pistols, axe guns, and scimitars, while also having a bomb as his ability that deals splash damage. How about being a masochist who relies on using curses in order to deal damage? Look no further than the Martyr, who can use any weapon type, and his ability Doom just gives him a general damage buff, applying extra damage based on how many curses you have. If you're feeling the Magic Spirit and want to summon projectiles and all kinds of splash damage like I did here, the Mage is the best choice for this. capable of wielding staves and having the ability to freeze time. Easily one of the best abilities in the entire game. There's just so much choice and variety in what you can play here, and more can be unlocked by simply playing the game, earning them through the area unlocks, or achieving certain conditions, like the Enigma and the Stalker. The Enigma I'm looking forward to playing especially because of being able to use any class ability, a gambler's wet dream. Mortal Sin's combat can best be described in a few words: fast, visceral, and brutally stunning. You'll be slicing, chopping, kicking, and bashing your way through the depths of hell, with satisfying sound and visual effects, particularly the gore, which is just an absolute symphony of chaos when everything clicks and you're in the zone. The game works on an awesome combo system, designed to make each class stand out on their own. Each one has a set of combos, basic ones which can be performed automatically if you keep the auto combo setting on, and others you'll need to manually perform, each providing a unique effect or bonus when performing it. Nicola has made this a lot easier to see and visualize what moves you need to perform by implementing a shuffle combo system that gives you different combos on your screen, and the box for it can be moved to wherever you prefer on a Y-axis. The reason the shuffle combo system exists is because of your combo meter, which is this lovely thing here just above your HP that increases your essence gains the more different moves you do, incentivizing you to make use of all the moves you have at your disposal. I have a hunch I may have missed something about this meter, so let me know in the comments if I did. What I do love about this combo system in particular is that despite the animations being different for each weapon that you get your hands on, Nicola has designed this system to be general, so that no matter what you're using, the moves that I'll mention in just a moment all carry over to each weapon. And I just figured I'd mention it because there's so many weapons in this game that I couldn't get over the fact that one man managed to put all of this together. In terms of moves, you have your basic light attack, a thrust attack, a heavy attack that can be charged to perform whirlwind, which every weapon has, kicking which knocks enemies back, and a bash that lets you storm through or stun enemies. You can also run around if you hold the bash button, very handy for getting yourself out of a pickle. Finally, you have blocking and parrying, which work off of a stamina bar as shown above your health. Blocking will simply block the attack, while parrying allows you to do a follow-up and deal massive damage, on top of being able to pierce through enemy shields, which some enemies can have as a result of a modifier. The goal of Mortal Sin's combat is to always be staying on the move and not give your enemies a chance to breathe, which is easier said than done once you bring loot into the situation. If you're enjoying the video so far, consider liking and subscribing with notifications turned on. For those who are new, I'm Pepsilk and I make all kinds of gaming videos, from reviews to memes and anything that I find of interest. Any support is appreciated and I thank you for being here. In order to conquer the Maw of Sin, you'll need weapons, and Mortal Sin has plenty of those. Majority of the classes are limited to certain weapons, while a minority of classes can use anything, and there's plenty of options, from sickles to maces, swords, axes, hammers, Caestus fists, and many more. Nicola took the time to do a massive animation update, and compared to the last build I played, which was the realistic visual update, it is so much better and refined, making everything feel more snappy and weighty as God intended. Just know that there's so many options that you won't get tired of using whatever it is that you get your hands on. As mentioned before, you'll find loot rooms, dead bodies, and chests that'll give you weapons and equipment that give you stat boosts, such as health, attack, defense, speed, and luck. You've also got sin and item levels, with sin level giving you general stat boosts across the board, and item level influencing how high of a level items can drop, which can be increased by finding curses. Health is HP, attack is your damage, defense is how much damage is reduced when hit, speed is attack and movement speed, and luck is how much of a chance you have to crit, as well as finding rare loot. Equipment is sorted into rarities, with each rarity increasing the stat values. These range from white to purple, orange, teal, and pink, with each color increasing how much extra is on an item. On top of stat boosts, you can also get a skill, which gets added into your skill pool, and there's no limit on how many skills you can have, so go crazy. I've always found the most success to just try and balance the stats out as opposed to going for one or two stats to create builds, since a lot of the times when you lack a certain stat, you'll feel like you're underpowered in some way, like having a lack of defense, which will make you more prone to dying, even if you have a high HP pool. This is important, especially on Path of Torment when everything can just kill you so fast. Skills are what I refer to as the items of Mortal Sin, next to the equipment because of them doing one thing: altering the way you play the game. Skills range from all kinds of things, such as extra projectiles, gaining iframes when performing a whirlwind, lifesteal, regenerating health after taking damage, and many more. It's definitely good to be more considerate of skills as opposed to equipment because certain skills can benefit certain classes, such as Iron Grip, which uses less mana for every melee hit, which is handy on someone like the Berserker, or Echo, which lets you repeat projectiles, handy on the Mage or the Pirate. Skills are slotted to specific pieces of equipment and can't be slotted to where you want to put it, and every skill uses an X amount of mana for that item, something that's going to be very important in maintaining your gear and damage. Potions in Mortal Sin are essential to survival, which can both heal you and keep your gear in check. Health potions restore health, while wizard ores restore mana across all of your gear. These are restored by either buying them from the shrines, picking up charges from shrines in each of the areas, or destroying objects in the environment, and you have a limited amount of uses, so use them wisely. The enemy variety is solid, with each area having unique and different enemies. Each enemy has their own moves, attacks, and timings that you'll need to learn and get down, but this will come with practice. And this is a great thing, since having enemies all have the same few attacks wouldn't be as fun or satisfying as having to deal with enemies that have all kinds of moves. You've got mages, necromancers, pumpkinheads, pirates, wizards, and all kinds of interesting creatures. On top of the game's 3 main areas, you've also got 2 other places to check out. When you complete the sea rotation for the dungeon, cave, and forest, you unlock the Vessel, a place filled with pirates that have pistols and frickin' cannons, alongside some other interesting beings. It's definitely the hardest of the 4 areas due to range being more prevalent, but it's a good way to switch things up if you get bored. Plus, extra rewards when you do it for the first time. Lastly, we have the Trial of Resolve, an arena that spawns after every area you complete and has you test your resolve against tough enemies for gold essence and skills. And a fat DPS check. Gold essence is your main currency and you'll be using it mostly to buy sin levels and skills, alongside crafting, which generates you 3 random items and you pick one of them. Basically a gambling simulator and a way of getting an upgrade in a pinch. Prices do go up as you continue down a run, but this is easily compensated by the game giving you more essence from enemies and drops, so you don't need to worry. On top of being able to pick different areas and classes to change things up, whenever you complete a run and defeat the Maw of Sin, you'll have a few options. If you completed the 3 Trials of Resolve prior, you can complete a final one, which is tough and designed to be the all-in-one DPS check. If you do complete it, you'll gain these Sin tokens, which can be used as either spare lives or going to the Witch, who I'm yet to encounter since she can sell some really good items. The other option is to run it back again, which resets your oaths and skills while also ramping up the difficulty, essentially being in endless mode. There's a third option where you fight the true final boss, but I'm yet to encounter and figure out how to do this. If I manage to figure this out, I'll make a video on it since I can't seem to find anything about it on the internet as of right in this video. Visually, this game was and is something else. I say was because prior to the realistic visual update, the game used to look entirely different, with these weird color palettes and striking colors to where the game gave me psychedelic vibes. It also just made it stand out from any game I've seen or played before. Once the realistic visuals dropped, the game looked a lot more, you guessed it, realistic, but in a way that gives the game a demonic, Cthulhu-ish and dark feeling. It's more demonic than anything though. The game gives a heavy PS1 to PS2 era in terms of its graphics, but don't let that discourage you from playing this game, as you can thankfully change it in the game's settings. Well, sort of. There's a few presets to choose from, as well as color palettes which can be changed at any time. Shadows, scan lines which are kept off because it looked funny to me, outlines, gradients, blur, grain, contrast, brightness, and saturation, which I mostly kept the same except for the blur, which I kindly lowered. You can also adjust your field of view. I guess it's a good time to talk about performance while we're mentioning the visuals, and this game runs incredibly well. No crashes, stutters, or glitches. Mortal Sin can be run on a potato. That's all I really need to say. Mortal Sin is everything I want in a melee Doom game. And a roguelike on that note. It's brutal, it's satisfying, the moment to moment gameplay is great, and the amount of weapon and class variety makes this game one of a kind in terms of being a niche. I always love to compare other melee games like this to Vermintide 2, which I rate so highly in terms of having the best FPS melee combat, but honestly, I think Mortal Sin is better. You have a promoting combat system, gear that actually changes the way you play instead of just being artificial boosts and having simple perks, plenty of areas and enemy variety that it never gets old. I'm itching to go for the 100% on this game, and Nicola has gotten rid of those grindy achievements and made the game a lot easier to go for. So, I may just go do that. God, I love this game. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. If I missed anything, comment down below. I'll have more coming to you soon. Peace.